It is economic crunch time in Nigeria, and states are vigilant about revenues accruable to them. The chairman of the Forum of State Commissioners of Finance, David Olufun, said states are aware that NNPC is making subsidy deductions from its revenue before remitting funds to the Federation Account Allocation Committee. He lamented that there's nothing they could do since President Muhammadu Buhari, as the Minister of Petroleum Resources, must be aware of the issue. This is as oil price hit $84 on Monday, with the rise pushing the subsidy costs being incurred by the federal government to 8.28 billion naira daily. Olofu wants the National Assembly to probe activities of the NNPC, which is described as non-transparent. Babajide, 8.2 billion naira daily. How did you get here? This is, no government can move with this kind of payment of subsidy.
There are so many reasons why it is that high. The NNPC wants Nigerians to believe that our daily consumption rate of PMS is above 100 million liters a day. Not many people conversant with with the consumption rate over the years would agree that Nigerians are consuming that level of PMS, because a few years back it was just in the region of 27 to 30 million liters, and that's talking about even when we had greater prosperity. Because the truth is, during the Jonathan years, we had greater prosperity, the economy was better, the exchange rate was better, all the indices were quite better. Things are a lot more difficult now. So, but coming to the real issue, if they are telling us now that is 8.2 billion, the subsidy has risen to 8.2 billion a day. It then means that in a month, the NNPC will be spending 246 billion to subsidize PMS. We are suffering for our inability to fix our refineries. We allow the refineries to literally die, whereas we could have produced at least a huge proportion of our daily petrol consumption in our own country. We are importing virtually everything. The refineries are not producing anything. So definitely the amount that you set aside for subsidy will go up. The government of President Buhari has not made allowance for subsidy in the budget. In the last few years, not one naira has been appropriated for subsidy in the budget. NNPC has been encouraged to go against the laws of our land by dipping its hands into our money and simply, from crude oil sales, simply removing subsidy from source, which is wrong.
And the National Assembly seem not to be doing anything to this.
No, people have complained, but it's going on. It's going on. So by themselves, now the same people, you know, we've had occasions talking about what Olofu said, that NNPC is not transparent. There were occasions when these commissioners from the various states said, no, we will not accept what NNPC has brought to the table.
It's always very
and
that meeting.
You know, they remember during Yari, when Yari was chairman of the Governors Forum, they rejected the money, and ultimately they had to agree. Maybe they topped it up somehow. But the point is, they are not convinced that NNPC is remitting enough. Of course, if we say NNPC is not remitting enough, most of the 63 revenue generating agencies of government are not remitting enough. They are under remitting. Some are even hiding revenue, creating accounts, bypassing TSA and hiding revenue. So this is what we are going through. The question is, how much longer can we continue like this? There were months when the states shared just a little over 300 billion. Now we have a situation in which NNPC is removing even 246 billion. You can imagine if they have to, if they shed this on each of the states.
How much?
They shed these 246
yes. How much
of the states and the federal government and the local governments. You know, that's extra money for them. So the president is not prepared to, remove subsidy because he knows the implication of doing that. But the question is, how much longer are we going to allow this to continue?
This one is claiming that the president might be aware of this practice by the NNPC, since he's the Minister of Petroleum.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he be aware? He's the Minister of Petroleum. And besides being the Minister of Petroleum, this is a president that had held that portfolio of Minister of Commissioner for Petroleum in 1977, 78, when Obasanjo was military president. So he should know more about the operations of the system. This question has multiple layers. One is the lamentation from the state government at this stage of our development.
Cap in hand.
States are lamenting, waiting
every
for
month.
What will come from the center for them to share.
Yes.
To share.
If there's no money here,
their governors are moving with
the constitution says all monies must be shared by all the territories.
Yes.
They don't belong to the federal government.
They are lamenting. State governors are moving with a caravan of 22, 25 cars. Two, the issue of Nigeria creating NNPC as a monopoly in the importation of fuel, and then deciding on its own how much to take as a subsidy. They are just like the oil majors in the offshore oil production, where when they produce from there, some of our crude is sold from there. Whatever they declare is what Nigeria takes. So whatever NNPC declares is what we take. And Jide has raised a critical question. How are we sure that what NNPC is declaring is what we consume?
Even they too are claiming that there's a lot of smuggling.
Yes.
They are blaming it on smuggling. But we closed the borders for a long time.
The major issue here is revenue loss. Nigeria's revenue loss. That is a shame to the Nigerian government that it does not have a template to track its revenue. It does not have a template to track its revenue. Don't forget the $62 billion which the Supreme Court gave a judgment in favor of 3 states.
Yes.
Bayelsa, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom.
Against this oil majors.
Yes, over this joint production sharing contract, which the earlier agreement of 1993 said once oil reaches $20 per barrel, that the sharing formula should be reviewed. And he reached that in 2000.
Okay. Let's quickly take Wale from Ikorodu, Olawale from Ikorodu.
Yeah, good evening, Ayo.
Good evening, Wale.
Yeah, Omar, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And my brother, Chawo. I just have 2 observations and 2 questions. Does it mean that the Nigerian Army authority, the Nigerian police authority, can they find out those people who are producing this uniform for these bandits? I mean, it is shameful. The second point is that I could remember once upon a time, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, when the NNPC came up with ridiculous an outrageous consumption of fuel per day. He asked, say, did we expand Nigeria or did we double the number of vehicles in Nigeria? These are pertinent questions. So, these are areas of leakage that the president himself and the minister of petroleum must find a way of solving. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wale.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me conclude my thought on what I was saying.
Please, quickly. We have to
Yeah. This issue of revenue leakage in Nigeria is very critical. The people that were in charge, both in the bureaucracy and the elected public officials that were there, and they didn't review that joint venture. What happened to them? Buhari came to power in 2015, and the government established that some of the oil majors underdeclared what they lifted here to the tune of $17 billion. And recently, 90 gave us last week figures of how much oil majors are owing Nigeria, including tax and royalties. Nigeria cannot recover from them.
Well, it's up to the minister of the justice minister to ensure that that judgment debt is recovered. That's the
money is paid.
But if we keep saying that there is so much smuggling going on in our country, smuggling of PMS, and we are now paying so much by way of subsidy, that means we are subsidizing foreigners. Yes. We need that figure. That consumption level has to be investigated. It has to be investigated.
Yes.
Because it's more than 100.
Over-bloated.
More than 100.
With the kind of system that we have, there's no way you can investigate.
100 million liters a day.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. And Biki, before we go, today, yesterday we forgot, the CEO of Nigeria Diaspora Commission is come. Abike Tabiri Erewa.
Okay.
59
yesterday.
Okay, my very good friend.
Abike Tabiri Erewa.
Happy birthday in arrears. It still won't stop us from collecting our birthday cake.
I say from Ikorodu. We're expecting you back in Lagos.
It won't stop us.
Happy birthday, man. Wishing you many more prosperous years ahead.
Wishing you Godspeed.
Yes.